Apart from carrying out state-of-the-art research, one of the main goals of the research group on cross-border cooperation established by the University of Public Service and the Central European Service for Cross-Border Initiatives is to facilitate the education of young researchers. For this reason, the research group invites in the coming years the best border scholars as visiting lecturers. The first such lecture was held by Professor Jarosław Jańczak, political scientist.
On the 21st of November 2022, Professor Jarosław Jańczak held an open lecture centered around the rebordering tendencies in post-pandemic Europe, COVID-19, borderless Europe, and cross-border governance in the EU at the University of Public Service, and later also for the experts of the Central European Service for Cross-Border Initiatives. The lecturer started his presentation by shedding light on how the borders are becoming again more important and contested in public discourse.
Borders. Europe is a continent where borders are or have been of primary importance to understand political, social, territorial, cultural, and so on dynamics. And the community of scholars over the last 30 years have been studying mainly debordering processes, so erosion of borders, lifting borders, liberalizing border flows and regimes, and so on. However, the last years, they have been marked with a sort of reversed process. So 2015 and the so-called immigration crisis that resulted in many of the member states of the European Union reintroducing border controls. Then the pandemic, where again closing borders and control over especially human flows was one of the most common tools employed by member states. This is what actually makes us thinking that maybe the bordering is not as linear as we believed it was. And then further, Brexit with new border setting between Great Britain and the continent with regard especially to goods, services, capital, but also human flows. And finally, the war in Ukraine, Russian invasion over Ukraine, with the consequences we can still not precisely predict, but they will definitely have developments related to borders, maybe even a new Iron Curtain separating Europe from the Putin's Russia. Rebordering, so reintroducing borders, consolidating existing borders, setting new borders. This is maybe not a brand new phenomenon, but definitely more intensive recently than before.
The presentations finished with a lively discussion about the future of borders. You can learn about similar future events by visiting the research group's webpage.